Hi, my name is Regina Banks. I'm the director of the Lutheran Office of Public Policy, California, and with me is Savannah Jorgensen, Hunger Fellow with the Lutheran Office of Public Policy, California, and Lobby Day Manager for 2023. What you're going to do is meet in your groups. We'll have already broken you up into groups that are going to be going into each legislative meeting. Before you go into the office, meet right outside, meet in the foyer in the swing space or even at St. John's, and introduce yourself to one another, where you're from, why you're at Lobby Day, and whether you've done this before or not. We will have already identified a facilitator. So that facilitator should raise their hand and say, that's me, I'm the one, you can follow me and trust me. So the facilitator is going to be the one that opens the meeting, and decide before you go in who's going to talk first, second, and third, or more if there are more of you in the meetings, and who will plan to take notes. The notes are really important because Savannah nor I will be in the meetings with you. So in order for us to follow up with the great work that you're doing in the meetings, we're going to need to know what you talked about and what the legislator or staffer said to you, what they may have promised to you, maybe any intel that we can give back to our alliances about what we find out during these meetings if a legislator has changed their mind or has questions or concerns that we can help follow up with. Those notes are really important. Decide who's going to speak about each bill. We've given you information on 4 bills. We'll probably give you some talking points about some budget asks, but you're not obligated to talk about each of those bills. If all of you are really excited about one bill, talk about that one bill and get that off your heart and chest and speak with knowledge and authority about that. If each of you have different bills that you want to talk about, then you can certainly talk about each of the bills that you're passionate about, but decide before you go in which bills you're going to be talking about. So when you go into the meeting, the facilitator will take 4 to 5 minutes, if that, and thank whoever you're meeting with for being with you today. And a really quick note about whether or not you're meeting with the legislator themselves or a staff member. Several of you are meeting with legislators, but several of you are meeting with staff members. And I don't want you to feel bad in any way about meeting with the staff member. It is the staff who moves the bills, right? It's the legislator that votes, but it's the staff that moves bills. And if you can convince a staffer, if you can convince the ledge director or the ledge aide of the truth of your convictions, that actually does just as much, if not more, than talking to the legislator themselves, who has got a lot going on their plate. I also want to flag for you that if the person you're meeting with, whether it's the legislator or the staffer, appears busy or distracted or has to cut the meeting short before you have said every word that was on your heart and mind, don't take that personally. We have intentionally planned Lobby Day for one of the most busy times of the season. The fact that they made the appointment with us is the point. The fact that you are physically in the place and are able to hand them the packet that we're handing them is enough. So you don't have to feel insulted or slighted in any way, or that you haven't gotten the job done if for some reason the person in front of you is distracted. For all you know, they have already decided to vote your way and they're moving on to things that they find more frustrating. And we want to let them do that if they're voting our way. So if they are appearing distracted or are running to another meeting, don't let that affect you in any way. If you feel comfortable before you get started in the meeting, it would be appropriate to offer a prayer. If you have clergy, rostered leaders as a part of your meeting, this is an opportunity to offer a prayer in that room. Be mindful of the different faith traditions that can be expressed by staff members, and by all means go with what makes them feel comfortable. But we are here representing a faith-based organization. We are here representing the Lutheran tradition, and it's appropriate for you to offer that prayer if you feel comfortable. This is also the time that you want to flag whether, if you're meeting with Senator Wiener or Assembly Member Irwin or Holden, let them know that we are carrying one of their bills. Let them know that we are allies with them in this work, that we appreciate them bringing difficult conversations to the legislature. Let them know that we are interested in partnering with them in the future. So then once you're in the room and after you've prayed, if that's what you're going to do, then you each go around the room and introduce yourselves and get a sense of who's in the room. So then you'll go about 30 seconds per person, and it'll go really very quickly. This is not the time to give your spiel. This is just, my name is Regina Banks. I'm a member of St. John's Lutheran Church in Sacramento. Go to the next person and the next person. And then the facilitator will give a brief spiel about LOPP. So in the forms that we'll be giving you on lobby day, it'll say the Lutheran Office of Public Policy California represents the coordinated witness of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America in the state of California. In addition to advocacy, we provide education and networking for the 400 ELCA congregations across the state. We work with other faith-based and secular groups seeking peace and justice. So we just want to let them know what organization that we're with. And definitely want to flag here that even if you are meeting with the same person that you met with a few years ago, these are a lot of new people in the legislature, and even the people who are not new to the legislature might be in a different house. So the most important thing that we are doing after physically being in the place and sharing with them that what is important to us is reintroducing them to the organization. This is a name that they are going to hear about for days and weeks and months ahead. And so we want them to be familiar, not just with your name and the name of your church, but the name of LOPP. So then the facilitator or someone else can go forward and go further and say, we're meeting you on our annual Lutheran Lobby Day. This year we're supporting affordable housing and environmental justice efforts. These priorities come from our own convictions as people of faith. Our main reason for wanting to meet with you today is to urge you to support these bills. We'll talk about a few of the bills that we feel most passionate about, and then you'll go into that. And the facilitator or the person saying that can definitely make that their own. And from there, the conversation will go slightly differently depending on which house of the legislature you are in. We are carrying 1 Senate bill and 3 Assembly bills. And all of these bills are headed to the floor of their first house. So SB 4 is headed prayerfully for the floor of the Senate. No Assembly member has taken a look at this yet. So if you're talking to a senator, you're saying, we would like your support for this bill on the floor of the Senate. If you are talking to an Assembly member, you are saying, we would like to give you a heads up about something that is coming to you in a couple of weeks when it gets heard in the Assembly. They have no idea what this is. We'll pretend they have no idea what this is. There are 2,517 bills in the legislature right now. Assembly members care about Assembly, Senate care about Senate. They're only just now starting to know about the other. And the inverse is true of the Assembly. If you're meeting with an Assembly member, these Assembly bills are headed to the Assembly floor. So you're telling them that you would love their vote and their support on the Assembly floor for the 3 Assembly bills. And we want to give you a heads up about the Senate bill that we're going to be talking about. So Savannah and I would like to give you a bit of an overview about what your elevator pitch could be for legislative meetings. And I'm going to talk about SB 4, and we're both assuming that we're talking to the legislators for where our office is at St. John's Lutheran Church in Sacramento. So that would be Senator Ashby and Assembly Member McCarty. So Senator Ashby would have just voted on SB 4 because she's a member of the Appropriations Committee. And so I would say something like, good afternoon, Senator Ashby. My name is Regina Banks. I'm a member of the Lutheran Office of Public Policy California and at St. John's Lutheran Church in Sacramento, California. Have you heard of us? Have you seen it? It's 17th and L. Oh, wonderful. Great. I can't stop thinking about how on my way to church every Sunday, I pass homeless people in the street. And as a woman of faith, I find that to be just wrong. And you have an opportunity, or you just had an opportunity to vote on Senate Bill 4. We want to thank you for the consideration that you've already shown to this bill. And that bill is headed now to the Senate floor where you will have an opportunity to talk about it again. This is an opportunity to streamline the process for religious institutions and nonprofit colleges to develop affordable housing on their properties, regardless of local zoning restrictions. This bill would also guarantee by right approval of projects as long as they are consistent with all objective standards of the jurisdiction and comply with listed environmental protections. And I just feel like that is a great opportunity given the housing crisis that we are in together. So we would appreciate we appreciate your consideration when it was in appropriations, and we would appreciate your aye vote when it comes to the floor. If I was meeting with Assemblymember McCarty for that same district, it would be, hi, my name is Regina Banks. I'm with the Lutheran Office of Public Policy, California. I'm a member of St. John's Lutheran Church in Sacramento, California. I can't stop thinking about how I pass homeless people on the side of the road as I go on my way to church. I feel like this is abhorrent to me. And later this month, you will have an opportunity to get a look at Senate Bill 4. Senate Bill 4 would provide a streamlined process for religious institutions and nonprofit colleges, yada, yada, yada. But that bill will be coming over to you from the Senate in a few weeks. We would appreciate your consideration and your aye vote when it comes to the Assembly floor. You don't have to worry about deep, in-depth questions about any of it. You've shared your position. And if you feel comfortable and you know the answers to questions that a member asks you or a staffer asks you, feel free to answer that question. But you don't have to feel obligated to do that. If they ask for positions of particular congregations, tell them that you'll get that information and then be sure to write that down in the notes so that we, Savannah and I, can get that information. Savannah, why don't you give us an example of, if I was in the meeting together with Savannah, I would say that was the one that was most important to me. And now one of my colleagues also from St. John's has another bill that she's interested in talking to you about.
Thanks, Regina, and thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate your time and hearing our concerns about these various bills. I want to bring your attention to AB 660 from Assemblymember Irwin's office. This bill would be focusing on streamlining and making clear for consumers food expiration dates and sell-by dates, best-by dates. And I think this is a very important cause because even in my own lived experiences in my own circles, I have noticed food being wasted when we get concerned about the expiration date, even if it's unclear whether that could be used or frozen or not cause issues to me and my family and friends going forward. And that just ends up in the landfill, and it's a big problem. And with the rising hunger crisis in this state and also climate change, I think this waste of food is a really big deal. And you will have an opportunity, again, if we're talking to a senator here, we would say you have an opportunity in the coming weeks to hear this bill when it reaches the Senate. But if I was talking to an assembly member's office, for example, I would say we appreciate your support on this bill and your aye vote when it reaches the floor. It is currently in Assembly Appropriations and should hopefully reach the floor soon. And we appreciate your aye vote there as an example.
Perfect. There may be some back and forth. They may say, great, leave your packet, and then turn their back and run away. Both of those is okay. Um, if it looks like you've got a little time and you want to build that rapport, because this is important for relationship building, you can ask them about some of their legislative priorities. And they may say, this sounds like something I was working on, or I didn't know that the Lutheran Church does advocacy. I'd love to bring your attention to AB XXX. What do you think about that? Write that information down. We need that information so that we can follow up. Say thank you for their time. Ask if they have any further questions. In the age of social media, nothing happened if there were no pictures. So ask if you can take a picture, especially if you meet with the member. But whether you meet with the member or staff, if you can take pictures, that would be fantastic. Be sure to get that picture to Savannah or I, and then walk out and exhale, because you will have done a great job. And all of these meetings are scheduled for between 20 and 25 minutes. I will be shocked if any of them go that long. Okay. These are really quick in and out, but the work is done by walking in the room. You are representative of so many people who did not have the time or did not take the time to be in Sacramento to share their feelings about the legislation that they are working on. And you are rock stars for doing it. If you have questions or concerns, happy to answer them. You can email me, or you can wait until you see me on Wednesday, May 17th, and we can go from there. But thank you so much for willing to be advocates. God bless and keep.